oftentimes in our faith, we tend to complicate things. I love this story that Brennan Manning tells about prayer. It really speaks to the intimacy available to us in Christ. Check it out and let me know what you think.
My doorbell rang one weekday afternoon in New Orleans. I opened it. It was a woman about 35 years old. She asked, "Are you Brennan Manning?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "Obviously, we never met. I was given your name by a friend, and I was just wondering, I was hoping that..." She started to cry. "How can I help you?" She said, "My daddy's at home dying of cancer. I've asked the pastor of my own church 3 times to come and pray with him. Each time he promises that he will, but then he forgets. I don't think my daddy has long to live. Could you come and pray with him?" So he'll be there in 10 minutes. Go over to the man's house. I walk back into his bedroom. He's lying in his bed with his head propped up in 2 pillows. "I guess you expected me." He said, "No, sir, who are you?" I said, "Oh, I thought maybe your daughter might have mentioned that I was coming. Then I saw the empty chair. I just, assumed you were expecting company." He said, "Oh, yeah, the chair. You mind closing the door?" I closed his bedroom door, wondering to myself, what is going on here? This old guy says to me, "Brennan, I've never told anybody this, even my late wife or my daughter. But all my life, I've never known how to pray. Go to church on Sunday, my pastor talks on prayer, goes right over my head. Finally, one Sunday, I get the courage to say to my pastor, I get zilch out of your sermons on prayer." He reaches in his desk drawer, takes out this book and says, "Here, read this. It's by Hans Urs von Balthasar, Swiss theologian, best book on contemplative prayer in the 20th century. He said, "Brennan, I take the book home. The first 3 pages, I got to look up 11 words in the dictionary. The next Sunday, I give the book back to my pastor saying, 'Thank you very much,' under my breath for nothing. That day, I abandoned any attempt at prayer, and this went on for 17 years, until 2 years ago, my best friend, whom I never think of as being very spiritual, says to me out of the blue, 'You know, Joe, prayer is just a simple matter of having a conversation with Jesus. What you do, you sit down in a chair, place an empty chair in front of you, in faith, see Jesus on the chair, and he's there because he promised, I'll be with you every day until the end of time, and then just speak to him and listen as you would in a conversation with your best friend.'" This guy says, "Brennan, I've been doing that 2 hours now for the last 2 years, and I love to do it. I'm careful, in fact, cautious. I don't want my daughter to see me talk to an empty chair. She'd say, 'Funny farm for daddy.' But he said, 'You seem to have a background in this. Do you think it's prayer?' I said, 'Joe, you don't have to ask me. That is so simple, so uncomplicated, so unsophisticated, so real, that delights the heart of Jesus.' He said, 'Yeah.' I anoint him with oil, I pray with him, go back to my house, and 2 nights later, his daughter returns to tell me her daddy died that afternoon. I asked, did he seem to die in peace? She said, yes, when I left the house at 2 o'clock to go to the store, he called me over to his bedside, told me one of his corny jokes, and he kissed me on the cheek. But when I got back just before 3, I found him dead. But she said, Brennan, there was something strange. Beyond strange. This is weird. At the moment my daddy died, he leaned over and put his head on an empty chair beside his bed. Do you know that Jesus? Is this the kind of intimate, heartfelt relationship that you have with him? You know the most heartbreaking thing in my ministry is to travel this country from Maine to California 10 times a year, back and forth, all kinds of stops in between, and I meet Gen Xers who tell me they're born again. I meet baby boomers. I meet senior citizens senior citizens who tell me they're deep into the Word, that they pray in tongues, but they've never once laid their head on the empty chair. Somehow that's too threatening, that's too intimate. But that's the very meaning of the central mystery of our faith, the Incarnation. The Incarnation is the mystery of the compassionate closeness of God in Jesus Christ. He draws near to us and speaks in words of incredible familiarity.
I hope this video blessed you. If it did, please like, comment, and share it with your friends. It really helps.